All right, everyone, this is slightly dated news, but it's a little bit important, which is that when Mexico's new president, who he leans further left, although he's sort of a left nationalist, which is interesting. Some people think that nationalism automatically means like furthest right, like Augusto or something. Not necessarily. The Mexican president, at first people are like, oh, he'll stand up to Trump and he's going to be his worst nightmare, and everything's going to go wrong for Trump. Haha, Trump blown the fuck out, essentially. He actually released a letter and he's like, oh yeah, I can't wait for a nice long relationship with Mr. Trump. I look forward to working together with him. I promise, by the way, we're going to try to stop some of this mass migration. I'll tell you why. And Trump comes out, ties this to NAFTA basically in his response. He doesn't want Trump to put the screws to him the way he just did the European Union, because it would be a disaster for the Mexican economy. Remember when Trump was first elected, because people were saying, well, Trump is a bigot, the Mexican peso fell against the US dollar by some catastrophic amount, and everyone was like, well, it has begun, essentially. That was within a single day of him being elected, that Mexico's economy, as far as its currency's power, took a massive hit. He doesn't want to deal with the fact that his northern neighbor, you got to remember, the biggest trading partner for the United States is Mexico. It's not China, it's not Canada, it's not Japan, it's Mexico. Mexico is number one. We import a massive number of goods from Mexico. Much like we're able to go after China or the EU on tariffs because of that lopsided trade situation, how much more with a country we are physically connected to that we happen to import number one amount of products from. He doesn't want a NAFTA-related tariff war or anything like that, so he's trying to stay on Trump's good side. By the way, Trump would be advised to try to do the same. He is making, their president has already okayed a border fence on their southern border to try to stave off some of the problems there, because you got to understand, when people migrate from Central America, they don't always come to the United States. Sometimes they're seeking to settle in like the Monterey area or Mexico City or something. There are places there that Mexico does itself have a problem with illegal economic migration because its economy is considerably more stable and there are considerably more possibilities there than some of those countries. And until now, the Mexican government turned a blind eye to it. They didn't care. They're like, hey, someone's coming to settle in cartel-run Yucatan. What are we going to do about it? We don't have a strong enough central government to deal with the problem half the time anyway. What the fuck? Who cares? Let the Americans deal with it if they make it to the northern border. Otherwise, they're just going to settle somewhere. Who cares? We've got enough problems. They're combating cartels. What Trump and what their president should do very quickly is work on a situation where the U.S. can help them with the cartels. That probably involves continuing to degrade the drug war here. I know it's almost impossible because of the prison lobby. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States, jailing and enslaving people, usually for no actual legitimate cause. It's basically, I couldn't think of a situation, the government's partnership with the prison complex, that is, that's more anathema to the concept of a free people. Rand talks about this all the time. The other Republicans, they sit there and applaud the prison industry and take their fucking money. Some of the Democrats do too, so basically screw them. But if Trump is smart, he'll get the MAGA populist crowd and people like Rand and maybe some of the further left Democrats together for sweeping reforms there. Because if we can stop the problem here on the northern side of the border, a lot of their problems down there will stop too, thus allowing them to guard their own border and crack down on things more, decreasing crime in the inner cities here, decreasing cartel violence there. Everybody wins. North America is once again more prosperous than before. As far as NAFTA goes, this ties in with his tariff wars, so-called. I analyzed this yesterday in the wake of the EU essentially backing down on trade tariffs. The goal of Trump's tariff wars is not to get rid of all tariffs in the entire world. It's to reduce and remove some of them and throw a little bit here and a little bit there, built up over time, builds a magnificent structure. A house isn't made out of just one brick, it's made out of many bricks. Trump realizes that by getting a few bricks here and a few bricks there, he can boil the frog slowly, so to speak, pardon the Keck reference or whatever, Pepe. And once he does that, he can build something far better than any of those individual little bits and components. He's trying to build a better economy, one that's simply more robust in a systemic manner by having these general reductions in foreign tariffs, better trade deals. He realizes, hey, Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time. The only way to remove those tariffs without looking stupid is to use tariffs, because then when someone complains, he can say, hey, they've been tariffing us. What's wrong with tariffs? They use them. We're going to use them too. And it scares the bejeebus out of these other countries. It's a good thing to do. On trade deals like on NAFTA, it's going to be the same. NAFTA is going to remain there, but it's going to be renegotiated. Some things in it will become more favorable to the U.S. Now, Trudeau has tried to throw his very limited weight around and said, no, we're not going to work with you. We're not going to bargain with you. This is the law of the land. Ha, ha, ha. Canada #1. Mexico is taking the opposite approach. I would have thought anything like when he first suggested tearing up NAFTA or renegotiating it, I would have expected that he would face more opposition in Mexico, and Canada would be more like, oh yeah, but we're basically smaller, not geographically, but less populated, less economically important version of the United States anyway. We're just going to go along with it. It's not going to be a big deal. And Trudeau is trying to stand his ground. I don't know what a good strategy that is. I don't think that it's going to work. Mexico's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we've got common interest when it comes to immigration and trade anyway. Let's go after Canada instead. They're going to find themselves partnering with the U.S. and putting the screws to Canada, I think, which would be hilarious. The U.S. no longer needs as much Canadian fuel, by the way. Like, we still need certain Mexican goods and services, massive trade partner again. We don't need like some of the oil and gas and stuff from Canada now that we've got hydraulic fracking. We're in the midst of a massive energy boom. They just drilled up earlier this year, I think it was, or really late last year. They found new oil in Texas that was like bigger than any deposit they had ever found in Texas before. Texas alone, like if Texas were its own country, it would be one of the major fuel exporters of the entire world. I mean, it's Alaska too. Can you imagine? Russia kicks itself every day thinking about how they sold Alaska to the United States. Oh, they found gold there. Oh, yeah, that's fun. Oh, they found oil too. Shit. Oh, and natural gas. Oh, yeah, fuck us, basically. Next we're gonna find like massive sapphire deposits, or the world's biggest diamond mine was just found north of Juneau. It'll be really funny. No, Mexico's president, I think, is gonna be more of a partner to the United States than some of us expected before, including myself. I'm like, well, the dude's threatening to flood the border with migrants, saying, well, if you don't have a job here, go ahead and go to the United States. But that never apparently materialized. I think it might have been more of a campaign strategy. In which case, actually, yeah, the dude seems pretty tolerable. Now, we gotta be careful, because sometimes politicians talk a big talk and never walk any walk at all. In fact, they go backwards. Like Mark Zuckerberg, how he bends his knees in the wrong direction. It's like, are you trying to moonwalk in a really weird synthetic fashion? Who knows? By the way, that's actually my computer background right now, the one where he's perambulating his legs. The funniest shit that I've ever seen. Yeah, but we've got to be careful, because it could all just be campaigning, basically. Saying, well, don't worry, I'll take care of the cartels. I'll take care of the border. I'll partner with the U.S. And then, nothing ever materializes. That can be the way that it works within the tricky sort of Shakespearean theater that is politics. But I think he probably is a better leader than Mexico's had in a while. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you think the last Mexican president was like inept. The one before that was, really fiery and likes to insult people on Twitter almost as much as Trump does. But ultimately, he's toothless. I mean, he's the former president. He can't do anything. That's about all. Peace out.